So this is the most important conversions or Webpack classes need different places, because that's I said into the your collection. So your data structure, it's only use the your Webpack classes. That means everywhere when you need to work with the collections or data structure, you need to convert your primitive data type to the Webpack classes data types, like the conversions is that, like that's why there's the most important understanding, like auto boxing, how come to the play. If you have a primitive data types, if you try to convert as a Webpack class or object, and it's called the auto boxing. Your data type auto boxing, you auto boxing. And then when you have a object type data, and then you try to come back to the primitive and this unboxing. These are two most important concept between the primitive data type and also the Webpack class via Webpack class and the non-primitive data type to convert, and vice versa. That's why I say the Webpack class in Java provide the mechanism to to convert primitive into the object, and then object to the object to the primitive data type. That means this is the your Webpack class objects. So that means every primitive data type gets its own Webpack class, and then it can vice versa convert it. And this is the conversion process, call it auto boxing and auto unboxing in versus the Java collection. That's why I say this is the most important. You need to be get it clearly when you work with collections frameworks or data structure. You need to be think about the Webpack classes with the respective primitive data types. So here is this is another topics that I need to discuss. I will show you in the program codes variables weddings, and that means you have a different types of variables. The migrations, you have integer value, you try to plot it in the convert to the plot value. This is called wedding. And then you have the narrow but typecasting. You see the plot, I have a plot variables and the 10f, and then I try to get it this value as a 10.5 is the type to get it value 10, and then it is converting to the integer. So just like integer a, and then integer first bracket close open, and then f value. This is called the narrowing. This because you have a plot bigger than the integer, and then it's called typecasting. It's called the typecasting because you have the plot type to the integer type conversions is here automatically. And you see the overflow, and then you have integer value a is 130, and then byte value you just convert to the a integer to the byte is called the overflow of your data. So it's a byte v and byte a, and then this is the overflow of your respective variables and primitive data type variables. Adding lower types, so you have here the byte value 1 and byte value 2 2020. If you have a byte, you try to output is byte, and then you need to be flagged like byte value, otherwise it has an exception or compilation error. So it can just like flag it like adding lower types the byte. So this is internally it is integer value, but you need to be flag it like byte value, and then you can see the get value in the C variables. So this is operators. I will discuss the later section of our screencast after finishing the discussion or programming with the different type of variables, and then different type of data, and then Webpack classes. Then after that I will continue the operators part of the. I already prepared that one, but didn't I have enough time to record it this one. So let's go back to our part of that is what I discussed. We already discussed how can you build a build a in Java projects with the Eclipse. Just you simple build it, just, or you can go to my previous screencast, and then I discussed from very beginning level to the installation level at this integrations. And then this is our package that I already talked about. This one, the initial main class methods. In my last screencast, you see the main class methods. I discussed this hello world application. I already talk about that one. So that means you got it idea what I mean. How can you start the very simple hello world application from my previous screencast. So let's go back to, so we define a class. That's the class you did need to understand clearly. but just you simply build one, just that you write down, you can write a call packages. That's I will discuss a little bit later. How can you package your Java programs in different packages and different functions and different modules, and then under the package, how can you define your classes, and then and the definition of classes, objects, and constructor methods, and then collections. All things come later, a little bit later, but you got the idea. This is the one of the packages. I try to modularize all functionalities. You see the array functional array examples here, the collections example, collectors example, control statement, encoding, decoding, and then operators. That's the coming next one. And stream, Java 8 stream functionalities and thread programmings. And today this is the really second one, the variables and data types package. So I already defined one class. Here you see the class name is variables and data type. This is your own class, and this is most important, you need to understand. So you see I define integer variables, local variables. That means this is the local variables you can define. This is not the local variable, this is the instance variable. We can say instance, sorry, variable instance variables. This is misleading. This is instance variable means if you have a variables like outside your class methods, and then this call the instance variables. And then if you have a variables like to define as a static keyword in top of the variable names, you see that I have a same variables as instance variable. If I put it like statics, and then it's called the static variables. That's the most important in that, and you need to clear. So we define the instance variable outside your methods inside the class, and also the static variables need to be defined outside the methods inside the class methods. So we define the static keyword, and it is data types, integer data type, and you put it like here the variable names, and normally we put it like the big letters, and then you have the uppercase letters, and here you just put it, you initialize the value 10 and 10. And this is it. Add, I wrote it down here, really add functions. You see the add function, how it works. So this is local variables. Inside local variables means the variable which is defined inside the class, inside the methods, and then you do the calculation. This variable is not possible to define as a static variable. See, it's not possible. You see, it's not possible to define the static variable. This is said the compiler said remove the invalid modifiers. That means in the local variables, the inside the methods, it's not possible to define the static variable, static values for static variables inside the methods. So you define the local variables, so Z, and you have also defined the local variables add values, and then you pass the your local variable plus your input value I and j. So that means you have two local variables. Is a local variable Z, and also the local variables Z, and also the local variable the add values. That remains. So all the local variables that you have it. So let's have a check. What's the difference between the instance variables and then static variables? So the static variables means you don't need to create the instance of the class. You can directly call this instance variable, because instance means it belongs to the class class levels. So that means you can directly don't create an instance data type instance class, and then you can directly call the instance variable what value we have needed, and then so on and so forth. The local variables is only for the flags for encapsulations, simple encapsulation process, getter and setters, and then you can set it also this variable. You have no access directly to without creating the instances of the class. You cannot have no access these variables. And we have a local variables because you implement the local variable inside the methods and call the methods and so on and so forth. Let's have a look how this instance variable and static variables and local variables works. So we just create instance objects for my objects. That's why we have it here. So you see this is our class object.